as we come on the air, we are following breaking news out of Toronto, where a Delta Airlines plane from Minneapolis flipped upside down and crash landed at the airport.
Flight 4819 was carrying 80 people on board. The FAA says they are all accounted for. Morgan Wolf joins us now with an update on those injuries, though. Morgan.
Yes, well, actually, just within the last 20 minutes, the ground stop at that airport has been lifted. And we also just learned that Delta is now reporting 18 people were injured. NBC is reporting that 3 people in critical condition were taken to local hospitals, and this does include one child. Now, this crash happened around 1:15 our time while the plane was attempting to land at the Toronto Pearson International Airport. And just take a look at this video posted by John Nelson. My gosh, this is right after they were evacuating, and you could see that people are trying to put out some lingering flames that were on that plane. John wrote on social media, most people appear to be okay. The FAA says that all people aboard that plane are accounted for. Now, I spoke with a retired NTSB investigator, Greg Fife, who says that it's remarkable that there weren't more serious injuries.
The fact that the fuselage stayed intact was an absolutely great thing, because that's what increased survivability and really reduced the injuries to the occupants. So it's evident that the wings separating from the aircraft absorbed a lot of that initial impact energy, which allowed the fuselage to remain intact and really increase survivability.
Well, Delta Flight 4819 was operated by Endeavour Air, and we are also learning now that Canada's largest airport here had so many flights planned for today because of the weather that they had over the weekend with their snowstorm. So the Transportation Safety Board of Canada is going to be leading this investigation here.
All right, thanks so much, Morgan. Again, the Delta flight was coming from Minneapolis. Jennifer Hoff is live at MSP for us tonight. Jennifer?
Julie, as you said, the flight originated from here, and as of now, MSP, at least from the perspective of the general public here, is operating as of normal. But we know that there have been at least 6 flights taking off from here to Toronto that have been canceled. There is one, at least still on the board, that says it's expected to take off just before 7 o'clock tonight. But Delta is also putting out emails saying that all flights have been canceled. So a good reminder to stay prepared here as you look ahead. Now, Morgan mentioned that interview with the former NTSB investigator. We also spoke with him, and he said right now what they're working on is really trying to figure out if there are any patterns between these 4 major crashes that have made headlines here in the last couple weeks or so. And he said that is what's going to play out here in the next few weeks as they look for those patterns and trends. And he also says he knows there's a lot of fear factor right now, maybe for some of the folks who are about to get on a plane. And he said it's just a good reminder to have some situational awareness and know where you are and where the exits are on that plane, depending on what happens. Certainly a story we'll continue to follow. We'll have more coming up yet tonight. Back to you guys.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. Joining us now on the phone is Paul Jackson, a former commercial airline pilot. And Paul, when you see the pictures of this plane, I know we don't have a lot of details right now, but when you see this as a former pilot, what do you think might have happened?
Well, clearly what I first see is that the aircraft looks like it exited the runway. Looking at the weather, in the time I listened to the air traffic control tape on it, they were reporting very, very strong crosswinds. And when you're operating with a crosswind and almost max performing the airplane, you're going to have situations where imagine going down the river in a boat and there's current and it pulls you a certain way. That's what wind does when you're trying to steer down the runway with a crosswind. Wind's trying to pull you to the right in this case. It looks like the aircraft was pulled to the right. We don't know why. It was well within the performance envelope of the aircraft. Most commercial airliners can handle about 25 to 30 knots of crosswind. I calculated out about 21 knots of crosswind, so it was well within the capability of the airplane. But we have to figure out now what caused the airplane not to be able to perform to its max performance, and something did that, be it mechanical, crew, the runway being contaminated, something along those lines.
So, Paul, when you say the runway may have been contaminated, we talked earlier and you said you can handle the crosswind, but if you hit something like ice on that runway, or a brake goes out when you hit that runway, or like you said, the crew, something may have gone wrong with the way this plane was piloted. All those things are still on the table right now.
Yeah, they are on the table. It's very, very early to speculate on anything. They do take, the airports do check the runways frequently, but when you have dry snow like this and high winds, You can get wind drifts, snow coming across that can cause spots where you're losing traction, things like that. I have no idea whether that happened or not, but it is entirely possible. Mechanically, something could have happened, and then crew technique also. But I would like to add, though, about the crews and echo what the NTSB gentleman said. I'll bring it back to the human level. You had 2 flight attendants that did a remarkable job on this aircraft, and also realized that the cockpit crew, the 2 pilots, also have to have duties during an emergency egress like this. And clearly, everybody did their job, and everybody did a spectacular job. And I just want to send out my congratulations or thanks to them for paying attention in their training and doing what they're trained to do.
Well, and also we had learned earlier from another aviation expert that fuselage stayed together likely because it wasn't going very fast when it flipped. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think just looking again preliminary, just from the original thing, it looks like it was well down the runway, which the aircraft would touch down at its landing speed, and then it would be decelerating, using reversers and braking or whatever to decelerate. And yes, it does look again very preliminary that they were in a much slower than their touchdown speed when this incident occurred.
And one last question for you, sir. You spent 27 years as a commercial airline pilot, retired as a captain. Have you ever seen anything like this?
No. I had a lot of broken lavatories and lots of delays, but no, accident-free and incident-free, as 99.99999% of all flights that we fly are. And we've had a bad streak of incidents here, and I do look forward to seeing if there are patterns or trends that are in this realm that's happening right now of what's going on. We've got to figure out what's going on and take action to correct it.
All right. Thanks so much for your time. We appreciate you joining us.
Paul Jackson, thank you. Well, as we talked about, weather may have played a role in today's Delta Airlines crash at Toronto Pearson International Airport.
Belinda Jensen joins us now from the backyard with a little more on the conditions in Toronto that pilot did touch upon.
Exactly. Let's put it into context. It did snow over the weekend, so they've been clearing snow. As Morgan mentioned, a lot of flights today, and so that is also something to keep in mind. Toronto is basically on a large peninsula between the Great Lakes, so with a prevailing wind out of the north and west, that is a crosswind for the Toronto airport. Both runways that they typically use actually run from southwest to northeast, and the one that actually had the accident today does run from southwest to northeast. It was number 23. We just looked at an aerial picture on Google, and it is that way. So we're talking winds, as he mentioned, 21 knots, about 28 to 29 miles per hour. So within the parameter of that plane, but again, it could have been that icy runway. They've had, as you can see here, lake effect snow off and on throughout the entire day. And with that, it'd be very difficult to move that out of the way. It's not like one big snowstorm. It's just streaks of snow that have been coming into Toronto. The temperature, by the way, right now, I was just checking, is -7 Celsius. So right around 19 degrees there in Toronto this afternoon, a little warmer than here. We'll be back to talk about our weather and what we anticipate with another weather impact morning tomorrow.